Everybody, it's Dale, Roleplay Cafe. Welcome. Uh, this is part two to the developer's diary, Space Age Man, uh, for myself. Just a basic kind of stream of consciousness explanation, loose explanation of like the setting and what it entails. Um, First off, um, the Earth and Moon primarily. There can be things like space elevators. Maybe different countries have built them, probably using carbon nanotubes or whatnot. So they're in geosynchronous orbit. But you can take payloads up the ladder with climbers, release them on a trajectory, or help build space stations or whatever. And competing countries probably did this, right? Now, aside from the likelihood of it ever happening, still, it's a for the sake of gameplay, satellites hanging in the distance and the potential for uh, countries to sabotage one another if there's any kind of conflict or whatever. It's just too much to leave to the side. So therefore, things like space elevators will happen. At the end of them, you can have different, basically a counterweight, because think of centrifugal force. Basically, they could be anything from the early on, like a warehouse system, to house all of the uh, preliminary things that you have that are building locations, habitats, space stations, moon bases, etc. in the world. So you've got that going on. And in this Lagrange port right here, in between the Earth and the Moon, will be a large space station. The Moon, on the other side of the Moon, and I'm already running out of ink on this, but on the other side of the Moon, there will be a space station. Jason kind of already, oh, I mean, sorry, a habitat, and probably another space station for that matter. But there will be satellites that divert, because this is the dark side of the Moon, as Pink Floyd once pointed out, that is going to take from the sun, light from the sun, and redirect it to be able to energize and solar power this moon base. And why it's on this side is because it's better to investigate the universe at large as well as launch. But it's kind of a gateway into the further reaches of the solar system, which is where the game could potentially go, right? So it's there. Satellites redirecting energy to supply it. Base here, satellites around the Earth, as well as space elevators and platforms on top of that. There will be, if we go from there, I don't know, I'm going to draw any of this with a, nope. So I've got to think on the fly. All right. We go from there. Let's say we got, so of course you got the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. There's 4 planets, and then you got a asteroid belt. Well, Ceres is kind of a dwarf planet, if you want to call it that. It's inside the asteroid belt too that goes around. So that could be a place where you might have smugglers hiding out, raiding cargo, supply, just basically on the cusp of society. Right. Mars too. There will be a Mars-based Sarah, as well as a similar situation with possible further buildup of space elevators or satellites orbiting. Now, this might be a time period type uh, encapsulation of when you want to jump in along that time period of development in your game or your version of what you come. Dark Age Man is kind of a legacy game anyway. You know, you build it out in the way you go, so you can most probably do the same with Space Age Man. You know, at what point of build up in the solar system has been had, but this right here is too sweet of a situation not to jump on. Whenever you got Ceres and all the asteroids that could be mined to further build things, maybe even Mars doing that. Now, when you get past that, you get Jupiter. Jupiter's rather large, okay? But there's also, well, of course, there's also Lagrange points in Jupiter, and these are buckets more of isolated Trojan asteroids. So there you have little Lagrange points where you can, like between two bodies, between even the Earth and the Moon, the Sun and the Earth, or Sun and Jupiter, which happens to be these. So these might end up being a situation too. You know, of course, you go out from there, then you're looking at things like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Kuiper Belt, and then the Oort cloud beyond that. And of course, comets coming in. So on the further reaches of what you can extend this to, or may have some kind of a far-reaching gateway, Lagrange gateway on the back of one of these planets, Mars or Earth or whatever, to go past the asteroid belt. It would be more of the expeditionary, like Space Age Man would reach there. I think that where maybe you could do an a single solo expedition to try to reach into the further reaches, but it's a non-developed area, right? So very much frontier-esque when you get there. So that's the period of how I see it. So, but as far as the setup between planets, there's going to be obviously stations, like I said, space stations at specific Lagrange locations, geosynchronous platforms with as a counterweight to the space elevators, and between these points and locations, you'll have ships transporting back and forth, right? So this looks to be, while fledgling Mars is being built up, that you're going to have pirating in the asteroid belt. So along those lines is where it will fatten up and get to the point of when they're going out on like solo exploration type missions into the further reaches of the solar system, as far as Space Age of Man Part 1 is concerned. There is sharp viewers who've seen the preliminary cover of Space Age of Man. There's a second part to it. After the diaspora from Earth has spread out into other solar systems, of course, time is relative in space, and there's going to be collapsings of these other solar systems as they build up and collapse down. So everything's pretty much post-apocalyptic in role-playing games in general. So that's what we're focused on in that. So the tech and whatnot would still be very similar to what you could access, but it would be strange and allow to go into situations where you have various different solar systems to work around. You could have a red giant feeding pulsar with the primary planet or primary sun, like a 3 sun system, ellipsing around, going through the breeze, rogue planets, all this other stuff that isn't part and parcel of what Sol, our solar system, uh, would normally contend with. Branches out into uh, things that I won't get into now, but it remains to be seen. Like I said, this is just the preliminary layout for Space Age of Man, and the other aspects will be revealed, but we're underway. All right. Till next time, guys. Take care.